thank you. Mohammed, what is the problem that is so bad that you feel that you need to hurt somebody? Stay here while I speak to Bektash. Thank you.
Okay, and your son's in year 6?
He is, yes.
And your son hasn't been here that long, has he?
No, he hasn't. We're
No?
quite a recent...
Unfortunately, you've missed the deadline
okay.
for choosing schools. Your choices are going to be a little bit more limited than most
Okay.
because children have already been given their places in
Okay.
secondary.
Where we come from, we don't have a choice. It's you either go to that school and like it or lump it.
But what we don't want is Mohammed not to have a school in
No, of
September.
course, yeah.
Okay guys, so what do we need to tell our reader in our opening paragraph? What do we need to tell our reader about, Jasmine?
Good about being a nurse.
Absolutely. What's good about being a nurse? That's the reasons we're going to give. So what's the first thing we're going to need to
Stop
say
it.
now? Can someone give me some ideas about
it.
how... What's the matter, Siobhan?
Poked me.
Okay. Mohammed, I'm giving you a warning now. You need to stop, all right? Our golden rule is that we listen. Okay?
And is there anything else I can help you with?
Yeah, there is actually. We're having great problems with the housing issue at the moment. My family joined me, as you know, from Pakistan, and we're currently in a bedsit, which is very, very cramped for space.
Okay, your son's primary school has a very good pastoral team that may be able to support you in making a housing application.
Sure, I'd appreciate that very much.
Would you like me to refer?
Yes, please.
What we're trying to persuade them. Who can give me a fantastic idea? Fantastic. So I'm going to have a go. Are you... Bektash, Mohammed. Mohammed, I've given you your warning, okay? And because you've carried on breaking the golden rule that we listen, I'm going to put a minute on the board for you, all right? You've lost a minute for breaking the golden rule that we listen. You're now not being kind and helpful. That's the second golden rule that you've broken. You need to go and sit at the time-out chair, please, so we can carry on with our learning. Mohammed, you need to go to the time-out chair now, please. Thank you. Okay, guys, so I was just with Isa. Isa, what was your idea for our opening sentence? Off you go.
Are you tired of...
Hi, Kathy. Can I have a word?
You can indeed.
Sit down.
Okay, what do you want to see me about?
Just Mohammed in my class. He's been in school for quite a few months now. He's really struggling with his learning and it's beginning to have a really negative impact on his behaviour as well now.
What about friendships within the class?
He has made some friendships, but he doesn't tend to maintain them. You know, he'll be friends with one person for a while, but he won't be able to keep that friendship going.
I think what we'll do then, Chloe, is I'll come into your class one day next week and I'll do an observation. We'll fill out the class teacher record of concern form, and then we'll get together and do an IEP and obviously set him some behaviour targets and some literacy targets and get his dad involved and get him to sign it off. Does that sound okay?
Lovely. All right, great. Thank you very much, Kathy. There you go.
See you soon.
Cheers. Bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, Maggie, you put on the agenda you wanted to talk about Mohammed Khan.
Yeah, I met with Dad last week to complete a secondary application because they've missed the deadline for starting school in September. And we completed the form, although some issues come up about housing.
Okay.
And I asked Dad if he would be prepared for us to refer it to pastoral care, and he said yes.
Okay, because I know we've picked up quite a few behavioural problems with...
Yeah, Chloe, his class teacher, has raised quite a few concerns about low-level disruptive behaviour in the classroom, and he was involved in a fight in the playground last week that I had to intervene in. We've got together and done an IEP for him,
Yeah.
and obviously he's working towards those targets, but I think we need to do something else.
Have we done any assessments?
Not so far other than what he would normally get in class, but I think it would be wise if Chris, if you could get involved and do some assessments on him.
That, and it sounds as though there's perhaps more complicated issues as well.
What kind of assessment would you do?
Well, I mean, it will depend on his language level, so I think I'd like to just get an idea of where he's at the moment.
It's starting to sound like it's pretty complex, because we've got housing, we've got learning, we've got behavioural stuff going on, we've got transition to secondary. Maybe we should think about doing common assessment at CAF.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well then I'll need to speak to Dad as well sometime about whether he'd be happy to go ahead with that, because there's too much information we don't know, isn't there, as well, so if you get it all down and try and coordinate what we're going to do.
Just kind of give him some more discipline. Back home he's used to far, far, far more discipline than you guys are giving him.
Really, we felt that it's quite a complex situation with Mohammed, because obviously we've got the concerns about behaviour, which we think are probably linked to the learning difficulties that he's having at the minute. Because there are quite a lot of issues here and potentially going to be quite a lot of people involved in trying to support yourself and Mohammed and your family with some of these issues, we'd like to do what's called a common assessment. Have you heard of a CAF?
No.
Okay. Basically, a common assessment is a new assessment tool that's being used in all agencies in the UK that work with children and young people to get a thorough assessment of what the needs of the child and family are. So in the first section, we'll look at the development of Mohammed. The second section is for you to tell me and the rest of the team that we're going to create how you think you're coping as parents. And the last section, this is where we'll think about housing, because family and environment is looking at
That's our biggest
the wider
problem
issues
at the moment.
Yeah, so we'll think about what we want to get. We'll think about what Mohammed needs in order to achieve those things.
Yeah.
And we'll decide what we're going to do and who's going to do it and when's it going to be done. How are you for time now? Have you got time to actually start putting some information onto the form?
Yeah, I'm okay. So I've got a few minutes, yeah.
Can you tell me what you enjoy most about school?
Football.
Oh, football. Yes, I like football. Now, Mohammed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to look at some words and some pictures, and I want you to tell me what you see.
Sun.
Yes, good. And you can see underneath 4 words. Can you tell me which of those words begins with the same sound as sun?
This one.
And what sound is that?
Ah.
Okay.
Jaldi karo na.
The purpose of the meeting will be to share the information we've already filled in on the common assessment,
Okay.
and then to see if there's any more information that we can put in or anything anyone else has got to add to that. And I want to remind you, this is totally with your consent, so if you want to take anything out of that, or if you don't want somebody to put something in, you can you decide what goes on that form, yeah?
Okay.
Hi everyone. Do you want to take a seat? What I'm going to do is just take us through the 3 main areas, because I think if we can just sort of have a discussion about the things that we think are going well and the things we might have more concerns about, and then I'll kind of record it in the right boxes as we go along. Okay. How about speech and language and communication? So things like, I know he communicates in Urdu at home, doesn't he?
I came with an Urdu interpreter and made an assessment of Mohammed a couple of weeks ago. Although he could chat away nicely to the interpreter, there were a couple of things when the assessment was going on that he found quite difficult. I know that you're trying to make him speak English at home, but if you focused on his Urdu, we can do the English bit in school, and I think you carry on speaking Urdu at home.
Yeah, we'll try to do that.
Okay. And anyone else got any other observations in terms of communication?
On a one-to-one basis with me, although he did have the difficulties with his language, in terms of his interaction, it was appropriate.
So let's stick with learning, since we've kind of started talking about that. In terms of his willingness to kind of explore and get involved and desire to learn, I guess, what's the feelings from the class teacher?
Well, he's quite disruptive in the class.
Right.
Mainly low-level disruption. And he doesn't seem to engage. I mean, he engages in physical activities and stuff, things like PE, but in terms of anything else that goes on in the curriculum, he's not really very interested or motivated.
Okay, so not particularly exploratory or...
No, not really.
Okay.
I think we've got to encourage him that it's okay to make mistakes, because that's how you learn. And I think if he thinks I've got to get it all right, he's going to give up. And that might explain some of why he gets angry in class.
In Pakistan, where he was teaching, both my wife tells me he was having some difficulties with the teachers there. They're much stricter over there. If you do get something wrong over there, you get a swift rap across the knuckles. So that's maybe why he's trying too hard.
Parents and carers we're going to move on to next, and you've not indicated to me that you've got any concerns about his sort of general safety.
He's adequately well fed, well nourished. We don't have any problems providing him with food and shelter. He's got warm clothes.
Mr. Khan had already said that there was an issue with housing, the whole family living in a studio flat, and Mohammed is sleeping on the floor, is that right?
Yes.
And again, once Mohammed goes to secondary school, he's going to be inundated with homework, and I'm just really concerned that there's going to actually be no place physically for him to be at home and do homework.
And also some support for your wife. Maybe part of the community group would be good.
Yeah, she's actually already started English lessons, which was why she's not present today.
Well, that takes us quite nicely into the action plans. Perhaps if we think first of all about the outcomes, so what we want for Mohammed, and that will hopefully guide us to what we need to do.
Well, the ideal outcome is that he could access the curriculum independently.
Okay.
And he can but I would say that the way to get there is to develop his expressive and his receptive language skills, which just means how he understands and how he talks.
I think his need is to be able to communicate effectively with his peers.
I'd like to encourage him to be part of any language groups that are going on in the school, and to have lots of opportunities to use speaking and listening in class.
Okay. What are we actually going to put in place then to facilitate these opportunities to develop both his English and his Urdu language?
There are enough indicators in that first language assessment to make me think that a speech therapist would be what he needs.
Any others in relation to the learning, supporting his learning? Do we need to do anything in terms of his literacy?
Do you have any books in Urdu at home?
No, we don't have any books because, one, we don't have space.
We've got some books in Urdu and English down there, so...
Yeah.
So can I put that down as an action that you'll agree to do some reading with him at home?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Friendships.
I think the outcome for the friendship thing is he needs to have at least one solid friendship within this primary before he moves on. I think maybe one of the strategies, maybe we can try again circle of friends to try and establish some friendships in particularly year 6.
In his class, we'd try and set up a group of his classmates and do some activities with him so that the whole group benefits, so that it doesn't feel as though the pressure's being put on Mohammed, but he's sort of developing friendships along the way.
Chris, is the Circle of Friends something you'd be able to come involved with?
I think it's important to start it as soon as possible, isn't it? So, I mean, hopefully we'll keep it going until the end of term, or until the end of next term.
Will the same support package be available in secondary school as it is here?
Yeah.
Do I have to make myself plain all over again, go through the whole rigmarole again?
Yeah, the whole point of the common assessment is to stop that from happening.
Okay.
So what will happen is there'll be another team around the child meeting before he finishes time at primary school.
Yeah.
We will invite relevant person or people in from secondary school to join this team.
I can assist and support you to go over to the secondary school, have a look around, meet key people in that year 7 group. You can meet the SEN, the special needs department.
So you need to have a better knowledge of the processes and the people. That's your need.
Yeah.
And then the action is that you're going to do that.
Paul, I think housing needs to come on there as an action.
Yeah.
I think we need to support the family with an application for housing.
Yeah, okay. The last thing we need to do is just very quickly agree when we're going to review this. I think it sounds like most of these things are going to take a little while to happen, but if we set a date that's towards the end of next term, we also need to decide who's going to be lead professional. Is there anyone particularly that you would prefer to have as your lead professional?
Yeah, if it's okay with everybody, I'd prefer Maggie because we seem to have established a rapport over the last few meetings.
Are you happy with that, Maggie?
Be fine.
Yeah. That's really it.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks. It's great. Okay, I'll...